1996. Why am I thinking about it? Well, my eldest nephew is about to turn 10 years old, so I've been thinking about the books and films, things that I enjoyed when I was 10 years old in 1996. It was the year the Spice Girls became popular. The films that I remember from that year: Fly Away Home, you know, the girl with the geese, come on geese, hey, 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 hey. Dunstan checks in the orangutan in the hotel. Matilda, I'm big, you're little, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm smart, you're dumb. Space Jam. The insanity of that. The Preacher's Wife, Faith, Hope, Love. And Muppet Treasure Island, The Black Spot. With books, I was still rereading things like Mallory Towers by Enid Blyton, but also I loved Jacqueline Wilson. Double Act was my favourite, the one with the twins. They were written for people who were around 10 years old, at that weird age where you still liked playing with things like Lego and Barbies, but you could never admit stuff like that at school because those things were considered babyish. These were my copies of The Exiles, I loved those. I loved Sarah Crewe in A Little Princess. She was a different kind of protagonist, one that was kind, imaginative, selfless, and always put others before herself. Chinese Cinderella was a real eye-opener at that age. On my 10th birthday, my parents gave me a copy of The Diary of Anne Frank. We can't find my copy of it, but my parents sat me down and made sure I knew how important it was, and I felt very grown up that they had entrusted me with this important part of history, and that they felt I was mature enough for it. I loved this book called Hiding Out by Elizabeth Laird when I was 10 years old. A boy accidentally gets left behind by his parents and has to survive all by himself, learning to fend for himself and find shelter, food and water until he's found. What I didn't know at the time is that my paternal grandfather saved the foot of this author from being amputated when she was bitten by a sea snake in Malacca as a VSO in Malaysia in the 60s. He was serving in the army in Seremban at the time, and he and my Oma looked after her. I loved these Usborne puzzle adventures. They were the best. You had to solve a puzzle before going on to the next page. And you could never go wrong with the horrible histories. And finally, 10 things that I loved to do when I was 10. 1. Swimming. Colchester Leisure Centre was amazing in the 90s with their outside rapids. And inside was a circular passageway or corridor which had a current, and you could just float on your back and you'd just be taken around. And Sudbury Leisure Centre had a great wave machine. And with both swimming pools, you always had to find the fastest flume to go down on. 2. Playing at the park, either on the playground on the swings and things, or playing football or cricket with my brothers and dad. 3. Playing Lego or imaginary games with my brothers. 4. Calligraphy. I got a calligraphy set for my 10th birthday and I loved that. 5. Drawing. I was always drawing, especially cartoon faces and making up stories to go with all the people. 6. Rollerblading. That was a great 90s thing to do, wasn't it? 7. Going to McDonald's as a birthday treat. 8. Reading, of course. 9. Playing in the garden and climbing trees. Finally, 10. After school television, TV on the BBC. So things like The Demon-Haired Master and The Queen's Nose, The Family Nest, and then of course the staples, Newsround and Blue Peter.